Imagine spending your whole life protecting humans from monsters, only to one day be betrayed by them, ungrateful, ugly, and worthless humans. As your last breath leaves your body, suddenly a goddess appears. She gives you a new life, reincarnating you into a 10-year-old child with immense power and the ability to charm every girl you meet, something that never happened to you before. In a distant past, when gods and magic ruled the world, there was a demon king named Leonis. Leonis heard troubling news. Another demon king had been defeated, and now 6 powerful heroes were on their way to challenge him. Leonis' undead army was locked in fierce battle with the humans when suddenly, a giant tree erupted from the ground. One of the heroes climbed the massive tree and unleashed an arrow into the sky. The arrow split into many beams of light, raining down on the battlefield, resurrecting the fallen warriors. Not long after, a mighty dragon joined the human side, launching a direct attack on Leonis' castle. As the humans drew closer, the giant tree began to move wildly, sending its long roots in every direction to attack. Leonis was ready to charge into battle, but his followers reminded him of the oath he made to the goddess of darkness. Now was not the time for him to die. Accepting this reality, Leonis finally laid down his staff and could only watch as his castle slowly crumbled. Though defeated, Leonis vowed that as the king of the undead, he would rise again in 1,000 years to reclaim everything that was rightfully his. Centuries passed, and we shift to another scene, where 2 beautiful girls are exploring ruins that had just surfaced due to a massive earthquake. They are checking to see if the ruins hide an empty lair. These 2 girls are Leselia, a swordsman in training, and her servant, Regina. As they venture deeper into the ruins, Regina seems doubtful they'll find anything, but Leselia assures her that empty creatures usually hide deep and out of sight underground. With the help of a special device to detect the presence of hollow creatures, they eventually found some strange statues and thought the place might be an ancient tomb. As they got closer to the door, the detection device they brought started beeping loudly. But oddly enough, the door was sealed with magic. Leselia tried to read the writing on the door but had trouble understanding it. Meanwhile, Regina felt this would take a long time, so she decided to explore the area around the door on her own. As Leselia continued trying to figure out the door, she accidentally touched it, and suddenly the door opened on its own. The room behind the door lit up instantly, revealing a large crystal in the center. The device they brought went out of control, buzzing loudly before it overloaded and broke. Leselia stepped closer to the crystal and realized there was someone trapped inside it. We are then taken back 1,000 years into the past, where Leonis, the demon king, meets with the goddess of darkness, Rosalia. Rosalia reminded him of their agreement. 1,000 years later, they would return to the world, and at that time, a human worthy of receiving his power would appear. Leonis' task was to find them. Leonis begged Rosalia to stay with him, but Rosalia flew away into the darkness. Back to the present, Leselia tried to break the crystal, but her attack didn't work. Her efforts disturbed the magic protecting the crystal, awakening Leonis, who was immediately confused about how Leselia could enter a room that should have been secured by strong magic. However, the crystal shattered and unleashed a powerful explosion that sent Leselia flying backward. As Leonis approached Leselia, he was shocked to see not an adult but a child. Leonis, now seeing his own reflection, realized that he had been reincarnated as a child. He began to wonder if his spell had gone wrong and had brought him back to his younger self, from when he was still a hero. Leselia, curious about why there was a child trapped inside the crystal, checked on him. Feeling a bit awkward, Leonis began to think that Leselia was rather charming. Leselia assumed the child might have amnesia and quickly promised to protect him. Leonis, who was once a mighty demon king, was surprised by the kindness shown to him. Strangely, Leonis found himself enjoying the attention before eventually passing out. When Leonis finally woke up, he found that Leselia had already prepared food for him. However, after years of being undead, Leonis had lost his sense of taste. He was confused about why his body could faint from hunger, finding the situation quite embarrassing. Although he briefly considered punishing Leselia for her overly familiar behavior, Leonis instead discovered that he still had his sense of taste. Relieved, Leonis accepted Leselia's kindness, as she sincerely shared her meal with him. Leselia then introduced herself as a student training to become a swordsman at the Holy Sword Academy. Curious about Leonis' identity, she asked for his name. Leonis calmly replied that he was Leonis Magnus. Hearing this, Leselia found the name interesting, but instead of recognizing him from legend, she found the name cute and affectionately called him Leo. Leonis was shocked that his once famous name was no longer remembered, but beyond that, he wondered how he ended up trapped in those ruins. Leselia speculated that perhaps Leonis had been captured by void creatures and imprisoned there. Leonis was confused because he didn't know what the void was, and it seemed like Leselia didn't either. With surprise, Leselia explained that the void were mysterious creatures that appeared around 64 years ago and have since become humanity's greatest threat. Meanwhile, in another part of the ruins, Regina was exploring alone. The detection device she carried began beeping, signaling that something was nearby, and suddenly, the crystals around her started to move. Quickly, Regina activated her holy sword and prepared to fight. At the same time, Leselia continued explaining to Leo that there was still much they didn't understand about the void creatures. Leo tried to figure out what year it was now. However, with the calendar system having changed, Leselia could only say that it was year 64 of this new era. Suddenly, a loud explosion echoed, and Regina swiftly reported that a giant void creature had appeared. Without hesitation, Leselia jumped toward Leo to shield him from the flying debris. Shortly after that, the wall collapsed, and a large void creature resembling a giant burst in with terrifying force. Leselia tried to attack it with her weapon, but the strike had no effect. As the situation grew more dangerous, Leo stepped forward, but unfortunately, he tripped over his own cloak. His small new body made him unaccustomed to moving with agility. The void creature drew closer, preparing to attack. However, before it could strike, it was blasted by Regina, who had just arrived at the scene. Regina looked at Leo with curiosity, not knowing who this child was. But Leselia quickly interrupted, saying they would discuss it later. The void creature, though hit by the attack, began to rise again. Not wanting to take any chances, Regina quickly transformed her weapon into a giant cannon, firing a large shot directly at the monster's chest. The explosion hit the void creature hard, but Leselia remained alert, ready to strike if needed. Despite Regina's powerful attack, Leo was stunned to see the creature still standing. He began to realize that Regina's strength was on par with high-level magic, something not to be underestimated. In a firm voice, Regina told Leselia and Leo to run while she handled the monster. Leselia hesitated for a moment, not wanting to leave Regina alone to fight the giant void creature. However, for Leo's safety, she agreed and began running with him away from the battle. As they ran, Leo kept thinking about how everything seemed to be falling apart. The plan he had in mind seemed to have turned against him. For a moment, Leo considered turning back and facing the void monster himself, but he ultimately decided to stay with Leselia. Leselia urged Leo to focus on learning more about this current world, a world clearly different from what Leo remembered. However, before they could escape danger, another void monster appeared, blocking their path. Leselia reacted immediately, telling Leo to run while she held off the monster. But Leo felt tempted to show his true power, eager to destroy the creature in one strike. As Leo prepared to cast a spell, Leselia quickly pushed him aside, taking a hard hit from the monster. Leselia's body was thrown to the ground, badly injured and bleeding. Despite her condition, Leselia was more concerned about Leo's safety, apologizing for not being able to protect him and urging him to run. As Leo tried to make sense of the situation, more void monsters appeared, surrounding him. The creatures attacked, but suddenly, a magical barrier appeared around Leo, protecting him. Sensing the moment had come, Leo summoned his magic staff. In an instant, he unleashed a powerful gravity spell, crushing one monster in a single strike. Not stopping there, Leo then hurled a large fireball, easily incinerating two more creatures. However, Leo was shocked to see the monster's bones remain intact. He quickly realized that while his power was still great, it was only a fraction of what he had when he was the Demon King. Silently, Leo typically didn't think much of humans, but this time he was impressed by Leselia's bravery and sacrifice. A sense of respect began to grow within him. Seeing Leselia lying on the ground, Leo decided to save her. Using his magic, Leo revived Leselia. During the process, strange symbols appeared on her body, indicating something beyond just resurrection. Meanwhile, Regina had finally defeated the void monster she was fighting and quickly tried to contact Leselia. Leo, who previously had little interest in human technology, was now amazed by their advancements, marveling at how far humanity had come in the past 1,000 years. When Leselia woke up, she immediately hugged Leo tightly, relieved that he was safe. Leselia's reaction surprised Leo. He hadn't expected that Leselia's biggest concern was him, not her own well-being. Leo felt confused by Leselia's overwhelming care for him. Still in shock, Leselia asked how she could still be alive after suffering such serious injuries. Casually, Leo replied that her wounds weren't too bad, and he had used a healing spell to save her. Leselia furrowed her brow in confusion, then asked if Leo had used the power of the Holy Sword. Not fully understanding what Leselia meant, Leo listened quietly as she explained. Leselia told him that the Holy Sword was a special power developed by humans to fight the void creatures. Leselia further explained that when the void creatures first appeared, some children were born with strange abilities. This became the basis for creating the Holy Swords, which are said to match the personality of the user. Leselia admitted that she hadn't received her Holy Sword yet and was currently using magical tools to fight. Shortly after, Regina joined them, curious about the monster they had just faced. After they got out of that situation, Leselia and Regina decided to take Leo back to the city with them. As they walked, Regina introduced herself, but noticed Leo staring at her. With a teasing tone, Regina started calling Leo playful nicknames. Leselia, feeling annoyed, quickly told Regina to stop acting weird, but Regina continued to tease Leo, making Leselia even more irritated. Leo, who was usually accustomed to respect, felt a bit annoyed at being made fun of by the girl. When they arrived in the city, Leo was amazed by what he saw. The city looked modern, filled with technology and structures Leo had never seen before. Leonis then explained that this place was called the 7th Assault Garden, humanity's last stronghold against the void creature threat. Leo still couldn't believe that he was truly 1,000 years in the future. While Leo was still fascinated by this new world, the story shifted back 6 years ago, during a major attack on the 3rd Assault Garden by void creature forces. At that time, people were hiding inside a large house. There, a young Leonis was seen holding Regina tightly. Regina looked terrified, trembling at the sounds of the battle outside. Leonis, though also afraid, tried to comfort her friend. She assured Regina that her parents and the other knights had never lost a battle before. As the sounds of the fight grew closer, Leonis confidently said that she would join the battle as soon as she was blessed with her holy sword. The sounds of the battle grew louder. Leonis, eager to go out and help her family, tried to move, but Regina quickly stopped her. Although both wanted to help, the situation outside was too dangerous. Not long after, they were finally rescued. But terrible news hit them. All the holy knights had fallen. Leonis' parents were among the casualties. Leonis fell to her knees, and together with Regina, they cried in deep sorrow over their loss. Back in the present, Leo pondered whether the entire island was actually a giant fortress. Casually, Regina informed him that the island was not just a fortress but also a city where people lived and defended themselves. Leo was even more amazed to learn that the island was actually moving. Meanwhile, Leonis contacted her superior and informed them that they were bringing a boy who she believed had awakened a holy sword. They assumed that the holy sword had been used to heal the boy's wounds, though Leo knew that wasn't the case. Leonis told Leo that from now on, he would stay with them at Excalibur Academy, where holy sword wielders are trained to become great warriors. Regina then excused herself to go shopping, while Leonis stayed with Leo. Leonis explained that Leo would have to pass the gate exam before he could enter the academy. Now alone, Leo decided to head to the bathroom. In his mind, Leo kept wondering how everything had gone so wrong from his original plan. How did he end up trapped in the body of a child like this? Leo then summoned his 2 old followers, Blackus and Sherry, from the shadows. When they appeared, both were shocked to see Leo's current form. Even Sherry, in a teasing tone, mentioned that Leo looked cute. Leo explained that his reincarnation ritual didn't go as planned and brought him back in his old human form. Since becoming a hero, Leo felt his responsibilities had drastically changed. Leo then informed Blackus and Sherry that they were now on a man-made floating island called Assault Garden 7, and Leo suspected there were 6 other similar islands. Leo also noticed that humans had changed a lot since the old days. They used to be much weaker. Leo ordered Blackus and Sherry to observe the island discreetly without using magic, while he would disguise himself as a regular human at the academy. When the exam began, Leo was faced with controls and monitors he didn't understand. He learned that he had to carefully manage his mana levels if he wanted to pass this test. Tension rose when suddenly an alarm went off. Leo quickly grabbed his ID card and tried to leave. However, Leonis suddenly appeared and took the card from him. She needed a photo of Leo to set up the test that would determine the nature of his holy sword, and Leonis decided to hold onto the card for the time being. As they finally headed to the academy together, Leo couldn't hide his surprise at how calm and peaceful the island was. Leonis explained that the island had never been attacked by void creatures, which was why everything felt so serene and peaceful here. As they walked through the academy, Leo noticed a ballroom and was confused. Why is there a place like that? Shouldn't they just focus on military training? He wondered. Leonis smiled and explained, actually, doing fun activities like dancing helps the students perform better in their training. Later, Leonis took Leo to the training grounds where he would undergo a test to determine if he possessed a holy sword, known as the Sword Investigation. However, as they passed by the dormitories, Leonis suddenly got a headache and complained that she needed to start training again in order to obtain her own holy sword. Just then, a boy named Musel and his gang appeared, blocking their way. Musel began teasing Leonis, mocking her while looking at Leo as if he were still a child. The girls with Musel seemed to be under the control of his holy sword. With arrogance, Musel told Leonis that she should join his group of girls. Of course, Leonis refused the offer. Annoyed, Musel roughly pulled her hair. Seeing that, Leo couldn't hold back his anger. He quickly used a spell to make Musel kneel before him. Leo warned Musel to leave Leonis alone immediately. But Musel wasn't having it. He drew his holy weapon, ready for a fight. Before they could start battling, a girl named Elfine appeared and stopped the fight. "I'll report you to the school if you keep causing trouble," she threatened. Reluctantly, Musel backed off, and it was revealed that Elfine was part of the same platoon as Leonis. Leonis introduced Leo to Elfine, who then explained that she couldn't join their last mission because she was busy investigating strange magical signals they had detected on the island. Elfine also mentioned that a special team would be investigating it further. After that, they headed to Hazard Dormitory, an old and rundown building where Leonis' team lived. At this academy, dormitories were assigned based on performance. The better the performance, the nicer the dorm. Leselia took Leo upstairs, and Leo asked if he could stay in the girls' dormitory. Leselia chuckled and allowed it because Leo was just a child. She showed Leo the bathroom so he could take a bath. Leo was amazed by the presence of hot water, something he had never experienced before. While Leo was enjoying his hot bath, Leselia suddenly came in and started helping him bathe. She then said that Leo could join any team he wanted, but she honestly admitted she would be really happy if he joined hers. Leo was curious. Why are you so eager to fight, even though you don't have a holy sword yet? Before Leselia could answer, she suddenly fainted. Quickly, Leo used a special mark on his body to save her, even giving her his own blood by biting her neck to help her recover. When Leselia regained consciousness, she was shocked and confused about what Leo had done. Leo calmly explained, "You weren't just healed. You were actually dead earlier." 2 years ago, Leselia was in an intense training session against several combat robots. She struggled, but suddenly Musel appeared, trying to convince her to join his team. "No need to fight alone, just join us," he said casually. However, before Leselia could respond, Regina arrived, making Musel back off with a frightened expression. Regina firmly said, "Once you get your holy sword, dealing with people like Musel will be easy." Leselia then explained to Regina that the reason she wanted a holy sword wasn't just for power. There was something deeper behind it. Back in the present, Leselia woke up. Leo finally decided to be honest with her. "Actually, I'm an ancient sorcerer who's been revived," Leo said, looking serious. Leo explained that when he revived Leselia, he accidentally turned her into a vampire. That's why she had to drink his blood, to restore her magical energy, or mana. Upon hearing that, Leselia told him about the void creature attack that destroyed her village, leaving both her and Regina as orphans. The Excalibur Academy took them both in, and since then, Leselia had been taking on dangerous missions, hoping to awaken her own holy sword. "Can I still get a holy sword now that I'm a vampire?" she asked hopefully. Leo wasn't sure, but he reassured Leselia by saying she was probably stronger now than before. Suddenly, Leo's stomach growled loudly, making him feel awkward. It had been a long time since he'd been used to feeling hungry. In the cafeteria, Leo tried to buy food with the gold coins he still thought had value, but he was shocked to find out that the island only accepted credits, and his gold was worthless. Leo realized that all the money he had collected in the past was now completely useless. Nearby, there were some thugs harassing a girl, forcing her to pay off her debt. When the girl asked for more time, the thugs started to get rough. But casually, the girl pulled out a wooden sword and managed to scare them off. This girl was Sakuya, a member of Leselia's team. Sakuya apologized for not joining the exploration mission. "Sorry, I was busy gambling after class," she said without a care. Sakuya had also heard about Leo from Elfine, and Leo quickly realized that Sakuya was highly skilled with the sword, even though it was just wooden. Leselia decided to buy lunch for everyone, and during that time, Leo noticed Sakuya wearing unusual clothing. "Hey, where's that outfit from?" he asked curiously. Sakuya explained that the clothes were from her hometown, which had been destroyed by a void attack, and she had vowed to wipe out all those creatures. It turns out, Sakuya also had a gambling habit. Suddenly, 2 girls came over, demanding the debt that Sakuya had borrowed. However, Sakuya quickly tried to distract them. After lunch, they all headed to the training area, where a woman named Alto was in charge of Leo's holy sword test. Leo pulled out his staff and said, "This is just a backup weapon." Everyone was shocked when Leo easily destroyed 3 robots designed to simulate void creatures. Alto, looking impressed, said they would need to run more tests. Suddenly, Musel appeared and issued a challenge. "Why don't you prove your strength by fighting me?" They agreed to duel. However, when Leselia saw Musel's team getting ready to fight, she immediately insisted on helping Leo. Musel agreed, but on the condition that Leselia had to join his team. Leo boldly accepted the challenge and bet that if they won, Musel would have to leave Leselia alone forever. The fight began under Alto's supervision. Leselia quickly defeated several members of Musel's team. In the middle of the fight, another girl from Musel's group tried to attack Leo, but he managed to stop her with a shadow spell. Regina, who arrived late, rushed to the training area and was shocked to see the ongoing battle. Leselia continued to fight against Musel's team with determination. However, when Leselia finally faced Musel, he used his sword's power to bind her and disarm her. Musel then immediately chased after Leo. That's when Leselia's desire to protect Leo awakened her holy sword. Leselia managed to break free from Musel's spell and launched an attack, slicing Musel's sword in half. With his sword destroyed, Musel lost control over his team, and the girls began to regain their senses. Musel conceded defeat, and Regina ran to hug Leselia while everyone cheered to celebrate their victory. After returning to the dormitory, Leselia felt very grateful to Leo for his help. "I promise I will protect you as my ally," she said sincerely. However, Leselia also asked Leo for help to become stronger. That night, the team held a festive party to celebrate Leselia's victory and welcome Leo into their group. In the midst of the celebration, they debated who should be Leo's roommate. In the end, Leo chose to stay with Leselia since she was the one who found him first. After that, Leo was in Elfine's room, signing up for the Academy network. Elfine began to tell stories about her past as a fighter in her old team, but now she only worked as a data analyst because she had lost her powers after witnessing the deaths of her friends in the battle against the Void. Leo began to register and borrowed power from Elfine. He opened Elfine's tablet and started checking the world map. Memories of the past emerged, reminding Leo that the Void creatures seemed to always appear in places where major battles had previously occurred. Suddenly, Blackus emerged from Leo's shadows and reminded him that the entire city was currently relying on a giant mana crystal known as the power generator. Not long after, Sherry came and told Leo that she and the war he was involved in had been forgotten by many, which Leo found very strange. Meanwhile, beneath the water's surface around the island, several divers were searching for signs of the Void outbreak. However, they were suddenly attacked by tree-like creatures calling Leo's name.